And there was an interesting piece in the Times today about the palace having learned some harsh lessons over the last couple of weeks, which I think they absolutely might, and how they might address them going forward. You'd think some sort of protocol would have to be put in place to avoid this happening again.
Of course, but this is again uncharted territory. You know, it's not every day that a relatively healthy woman in her early 40s undergoes abdominal surgery. Now, obviously, her father-in-law, King Charles, was very open about his cancer diagnosis and his prostate surgery, and many charities and many groups across the UK and across the world, you know, congratulated him for that because it really drew awareness to a very common issue that many elderly men face. And in contrast, unfortunately, this happened around at the same time. In contrast, you had Princess Catherine, who's perfectly entitled to not reveal details of her medical diagnosis, but she did reveal that she had abdominal surgery and was going to be effectively MIA for 2.5, 3 months. And unfortunately, I think that broke the public in a way that no one ever anticipated. The palace is going to be more careful moving forward. I think again the issue here is straddling that fine line between making yourself available to the public but not too available. And unfortunately, the closest example you can draw to that are the Sussexes, the faux royals across the pond. I mean, they kind of went for the American style. Let's reveal everything. Let's talk about our feelings, and they didn't really endear themselves to the public because, in as much as they saw their grievances as valid, most people just saw the sheen wear off. You had just a couple of really rich, wealthy, literally a prince and princess whinging about their lot in life, and many people couldn't identify with that. They were talking about things that were clearly close to their hearts, like climate change, but then were taking a private jet every chance that they got. And so, in many ways, the Waleses have had to learn from the Sussexes' blunders, and there are many of them, and not go down the same route. Now, do you completely shut yourself off? No, because once you open Pandora's box and you make yourself available to the public to a certain extent, you have to maintain it. And so the Waleses have had to really kind of figure out what is the best way to do that. And unfortunately, this is one instance where it didn't go too well for them.
Now, the annual Diana Legacy Awards ceremony was held this week. It's the great separated but double act by William and Harry. How did it play out?
So in a move that surprised absolutely no one, the brothers were completely separate. I mean, Prince William left even before Harry's virtual appearance at the award ceremony. I mean, I know a winner of the awards that actually had met Prince William in person and then had to go across London to have a virtual call with Prince Harry. Clearly, the rift between the two brothers have calcified. It's been rumored that they haven't spoken in over a year since the publication of Harry's book Spare. We know that in that book there were many scathing allegations against basically Prince William and his wife, Princess Catherine, which I'm sure Prince William didn't take lightly at all. And the really sad irony here is this is not what Princess Diana would have wanted her legacy to be. She wouldn't have wanted her two sons to effectively not speak to each other. But it just goes to show, how deep the rift goes. I suspect when William becomes king, I don't think that there's going to be any kind of rapprochement on the part of the brothers. I suspect he might even remove the titles of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and you kind of make the excuse that if you're not a working member of the royal family, you don't get a title. He might actually strip Prince Andrew of his titles as well, which would be his right to do so. But it's really unfortunate because if you're having a ceremony to celebrate your late mother's legacy and you two are nowhere, to be seen with each other. I mean, Prince Harry not turning up for that awards is also quite peculiar because he's come to the UK for what you could argue are less important matters. I mean, he's only popped in and out for his court cases or to see his father momentarily before he went to Las Vegas to present an award at a very tawdry award show that I think was really quite beneath him. But the fact that he didn't even turn up, and clearly the two parties teams didn't really communicate in any way that would signal that the two are back on speaking terms, let alone good terms, is really quite sad.
And I think it takes away from the purpose and I suppose the legacy of Princess Diana herself. I think it's ultimately very unfortunate. Now, we've often talked on this show about polls and the popularity of various members of the royal family. We haven't had one of those in a while, despite everything that's been going on. But what does the latest show?
So a latest poll that was commissioned by the Express, a newspaper here in the UK, showed that Harry and Meghan are the fourth most popular couple, well, royal couple, after Prince William and Princess Catherine, the King and Queen, and the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. So it's I mean, they were only above, I suspect, Prince Andrew and his no longer wife, which wouldn't make them a couple, but effectively they're the least popular couple, royal couple in here in the UK, and that's not surprising. I've always said that this couple didn't really stay as working royals long enough to have any skin in the game. A lot of their grievances, as they put it, seemed a bit trivial because it felt like they kind of just had a go at it, tried it, didn't like it, didn't feel like they were given everything that they wanted, didn't really stick around to actually try and make it work long enough. I suspect the pressures on the couple to have children as soon as possible, because obviously they were getting on in years, also added an extra dimension that made, their difficulties with adjusting to their role in the royal family quite difficult. I often say that Harry was quite irresponsible in the way that he tried to shoehorn Meghan and their marriage into the institution. I think they should have stepped back, had children, figured out their family life before they kind of delved into the complicated circus that is being working royals, and actually taking it seriously, and knowing that it's not something that you can just dip in and out of. But in effect, they've really not endeared themselves to the public, and you can see that in the way that they've struggled to adjust afterwards. I mean, they left on the kind of their freedom flight, as we saw in the Netflix documentary, and ever since then they've really struggled to find their feet. I mean, Harry released Spare. It looked like, for I mean, the good 2 years after they left the royal family, all they did was complain about the royal family. And then when they did try and do something for themselves, it fell through. Their Spotify deal got cancelled unceremoniously. Meghan has launched this new lifestyle brand, which is like Tig 2.0, but she's still using the Duchess of Sussex title, which again, for a lot of people, looks like a form of opportunism, because she wants nothing to do with the royal family, but is still happy to tout her title, which I think should be stripped. Prince Harry is, other than the Invictus Games, he really seems to be quite listless and drifting in the wind. And it's probably a lesson about sticking to something even when it's difficult, and not always having your way. But effectively, the public are not very happy with the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. I don't think they care about them very much, but I don't think they're anything to write home about. And like I said, the sheen has worn off, and clearly that is reflected in these poll results.